The millionaire dressed as a pauper to test his son, and discovered an unexpected truth. Jack's life was a shimmering world of success and wealth, but beneath the glitz was a worry gnawing at him. His son Ethan. At 21, Ethan was drowning in anxiety, tangled in the weight of expectations. Each time Jack wrapped himself in the robes of his self-made millionaire identity, he saw Ethan fade a little more. One night, sitting in his expansive leather chair, Jack made a decision that would change everything. He would become Joe, a humble man seeking to understand the ordinary struggles of life, starting with his son. With a heart pounding with both fear and excitement, Jack moved into a rickety apartment in Crestwood, far from the pulse of riches that defined his daily life. He traded his tailored suits for worn-out jeans and a simple shirt before stepping into the local diner to take a job. The diner was more than a place to eat. It was a refuge for weary souls, veterans nursing their dreams, and single mothers juggling jobs with a steadfast smile. The air was thick with the smell of fresh coffee and stories of survival. Jack was amazed at their resilience and felt himself start to crack open, unveiling hidden feelings of empathy he had long buried. As days turned into weeks, Jack still saw Ethan regularly, unbeknownst to him as Joe. From behind the counter he watched his son, who was caught in a whirlwind of distress after learning his father had gone missing. Jack saw Ethan's face morph from hope to worry, his brows furrowed in frustration when speaking about the economic hardships they faced. The weight of disappointment hung in the air, like a thick fog wrapping around both their hearts. "Why can't he just get it together?" a waitress said as she poured coffee into a chipped cup, rising to Jack's defense. "Life isn't easy for us, but we keep on trying." Jack felt those words hit deep. Yet the shadow of doubt loomed when he noticed fleeting entitlement in Ethan's gaze, an unsettling reminder of the privileges he'd unknowingly given his son. Jack realized that by chasing after wealth, he had clouded Ethan's vision of true success. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. A powerful moment struck when a local man at the diner spoke about losing his job, and Ethan reacted with frustration rather than compassion. Jack's heart tightened. The reality of his son's disconnect rang louder than any truth he'd faced before. Should he reveal himself as Jack, the millionaire, or should he stay as Joe, guiding Ethan through the murky waters of humility? The tension escalated as Jack stumbled upon a family secret hidden beneath their success. His sacrifices for wealth had weighed heavily on him, and now he was caught in the storm of raw emotions unfurling around them. Ethan's search led him deeper into their community, uncovering layers of kindness and unity amidst hardship. Just as Jack stood at the threshold between two worlds, the truth hung like ripe fruit ready to fall, altering their relationship forever. As each day unfolded within the diner walls, the journey pushed them closer to an emotional reckoning, leaving Jack to wrestle with what it all meant. The question loomed: would revealing his true identity shatter the lessons Ethan was learning? Or would it beckon them toward a newfound understanding of love and sacrifice? An answer lingered just out of reach, waiting to be discovered in the heart of Crestwood. The sun sank low over Crestwood, casting long shadows across the diner. With every passing day, Jack felt himself dive deeper into the life of Joe. The weight of his disguise became a strange, comforting armor, shielding him from the pressures of wealth. Yet, with every shift, he also felt the deep ache of his heart. Watching Ethan's struggle brought a pit of sorrow to his stomach. One evening, as the diner buzzed with laughter and the clinking of mugs, Jack noticed Ethan sliding into a booth, his shoulders heavy. The flickering neon sign outside illuminated Ethan's anxious face. He stared into the distance, lost in thought. Jack's heart raced. Should he reach out? Break character for a moment. It was the local musician's soulful tune drifting through the air that prompted Jack to act. He couldn't let another moment slip away. Slipping out from behind the counter, he approached Ethan's booth, his hands trembling slightly. "Mind if I join you?" he asked, keeping his voice warm and friendly. Ethan glanced up, eyes wide with surprise. Sure, I guess, he mumbled, clearly absorbed in his own chaos. Jack slid into the booth across from him, the scent of cinnamon hanging in the air. "What's eating you?" Jack asked, trying to keep the conversation light. Ethan sighed deeply, the weight of the world evident in his slumped posture. "It's just everything. Dad's gone, and it feels like I'm drowning in expectations. Everyone expects me to have it all figured out, but I don't even know who I am anymore." His voice broke slightly, and Jack noticed a sheen of unshed tears in his eyes. The familiar tension knotted in Jack's chest. Here was his son, raw and vulnerable, revealing a truth that sent waves of guilt crashing over him. He wanted to wrap Ethan in a comforting hug and tell him it would be all right. Yet the truth held him back. "You need to find your own path, kid," Jack offered, his voice softening. "Life isn't just about the destination. Sometimes, the journey is messy, but that's where you find out who you really are." Ethan's brow furrowed, confusion replacing the sadness. "You make it sound so easy, Joe. You don't know what it's like to feel invisible while everyone else moves on without you." Jack leaned in closer, compelled to connect. "I may not know exactly, but I do know that every struggle we face shapes us. Maybe losing yourself is just the beginning of finding who you're meant to be." Silence enveloped them as Ethan contemplated his words. Jack felt an unexpected surge of hope. Perhaps, in sharing his truth as Joe, he had offered a glimmer of clarity that might pierce through Ethan's fog. But then, just as that hope bloomed, the door swung open, blasting in a gust of wind, and an elderly woman stumbled in, clutching a tattered purse. She looked around, panic flashing across her face. "I need help. My grandson, he's gone." Her voice cracked, startling every patron. Ethan shot up, instinctively stepping towards her, an act of compassion overriding his previous bitterness. Jack held his breath, watching the shift in his son. Could this be the moment they both needed? As the diner sprang into action, Jack felt a warmth in his chest. Ethan was choosing empathy. But would that choice lead him closer or further away from the truth Jack desperately wanted to share? Would courage or fear win out? In the midst of the chaos, Jack realized there was no easy answer. Armed with this newfound clarity, he faced the dilemma that awaited him. The question he had been dreading loomed larger now. How would he reveal his true identity amidst unfolding events that could either bridge the gap between them or tear it wider apart? As Jack took a deep breath, moments hanging like fragile threads, a knowing look passed between him and Ethan, full of unspoken possibilities. What would the next few moments hold? The elderly woman's distress had swept through the diner like a tidal wave, bringing a sudden urgency that electrified the atmosphere. Jack watched as Ethan rushed to her side, concern replacing the burden that had weighed him down only moments before. In that moment, Jack recognized a profound shift in Ethan, not just responding to the chaos, but embracing the chance to be something more, to be someone worthy. Where was he last? Ethan knelt beside her, his voice calm and deliberate. The change in Ethan's demeanor filled Jack with an overwhelming mix of pride and longing. He wanted so desperately to tell Ethan who he was, but the moment didn't feel right. Instead, he stood back, observing as the diner transformed into a hub of effort, everyone stepping up to help. The waitress, a high school senior with dreams of making it big in New York, hastily organized a search party. Patrons left their meals half-eaten, murmurs of determination and support rising from all corners. Jack's heart swelled as he saw the community rally together. What had once been an ordinary evening had sparked a flame of unity. "All right, let us all go outside and look for him," Ethan said, standing tall. His eyes, usually clouded with uncertainty, shone with purpose. Jack's breath caught in his throat. It was his son rising from the ashes of despair. "Maybe we should check the park first," Jack heard one man suggest. "He loves to play there." The elderly woman nodded furiously, and with her, everyone seemed to agree. Jack took a hesitant step forward, his heart pounding. This surge of hope was exhilarating, yet the shadows of his secret loomed heavily over him. If only he could shed the guise of Joe and step forward as Jack, Ethan's real father. But at what cost? As everyone filed out of the diner, Ethan lingered for just a moment longer, catching Jack's gaze. There was a flicker of understanding, a silent recognition that maybe, just maybe, things were shifting between them. Jack hoped that by witnessing this act of kindness, Ethan was beginning to glimpse the values Jack longed to instill: the importance of compassion, connection, and the courage to confront one's truth. The wind whipped through the door as Jack joined the crowd outside. The park was just a short walk away, filled with the last remnants of sunlight that dipped below the horizon. People fanned out, calling the boy's name, their voices blending into a hopeful chorus. "Here, buddy. If you can hear us, make some noise," Ethan shouted, his voice cracking with worry. Jack could see the determination in his expression, the way his lips pressed together in concentration, how his brows furrowed deeply as he searched. Jack's heart ached with the desire to tell Ethan everything. If he could just walk up and reveal himself, then Ethan could see the man behind the mask. But doubt gripped him. There was so much at stake. What if revealing the truth shattered the connection they were just beginning to build? Suddenly, a piercing scream echoed from the other side of the park. "I've got him!" someone shouted, followed by the sound of hurried footsteps. Jack's instincts kicked in. He propelled himself toward the sound. Ethan sprinted ahead, his heart racing. Jack could see his son's determination transform into fear. That powerful emotion was palpable in the air, charging it with urgency. As they reached the commotion, Jack watched as a little boy emerged from behind a tree, his tiny face streaked with dirt and tears. The elderly woman fell to her knees, crying out with relief as she wrapped her arms around him. Ethan stepped back, watching the reunion unfold, his expression a mixture of relief and envy. In that moment he understood something essential. Connection bloomed in the moments we choose to serve others. But Jack felt a gnawing inside him. This victory, this moment of joy, felt beautiful and devastating. He wanted so much to be part of it, to be there as Ethan's real father. Would the truth help him find the same courage he saw in his son? As the crowd erupted in cheers, Jack stood at the periphery, torn between joy and heartache. How much longer could he keep hiding? He was teetering on the brink, ready to plunge into the unknown. As if answering his silent plea, Ethan turned towards him, eyes searching, filled with an unspoken question. Jack felt the walls of his disguise start to crack. How much longer could he wait to step into the light? What was the cost of truth and love? Ethan's eyes locked onto Jack's, filled with a flicker of uncertainty and hope. The crowd faded away for a moment. In that stillness, Jack could feel the weight of his decision pushing against him. This might be the moment to step up and reveal everything. Yet he hesitated, caught in a web of fear and vulnerability. As he wrestled with his emotions, the little boy in the elderly woman's embrace looked toward Ethan. "You found him." The boy's innocent joy was contagious, and the diners burst into laughter. Jack's heart twisted at the sight. The happiness was authentic, and yet he felt like a ghost amongst the living, uninvited and hidden. Ethan instinctively reached out to the boy's shoulder, offering a reassuring squeeze, and for a moment, it was as if he was holding more than just a child's shoulder. He was holding the essence of connection. Jack watched, feeling a pang in his chest. How could he step into such warmth when he was cloaked in shadows? He forced himself to look away, scanning the park for any sign of a future he could claim. The sun dipped lower, the light softening around them, as conversations mingled with laughter. An old man, lean and grizzled, approached Ethan with a proud smile. "You did good, son," he said, clapping him on the back. Jack's throat tightened at the word. "Son." It should have been his voice saying that, his hand patting Ethan's back. The elderly woman stood up at last, her eyes glistening. "Thank you, everyone. This community, it means so much." Her words hung in the air, a testament to the strength found in togetherness, but Jack felt a rift forming within him. He contributed to this moment. He had only watched from the sidelines. The townspeople slowly began to drift back to their tables, mirth still sparkling in their eyes while companions held onto each other tightly, smiles illuminated by kindness. The waitress flitted past Jack, her edgy energy replaced by a soothing calm after the crisis. "I don't think I could do what you did, just step up like that," she whispered, half in awe, half in disbelief. Jack met her gaze, the weight of her words cascading over him. He wished he could say the same, to step up and reveal who he was. But what would it mean for Ethan if he did? Would it be a gift or a curse? Ethan stood off to the side now, watching the last of the crowd as they left. His expression shifted as he turned back toward Jack, brows knitted with concern. "Are you okay?" he asked softly, breaking the bubble of tension floating between them. In his eyes, Jack saw an echo of understanding, a glimmer that maybe, just maybe, Ethan sensed the turmoil beneath Jack's surface. Jack swallowed hard. Words lodged in his throat. Yeah, but he couldn't finish. Instead, he let emotion spill over, the fear of remaining in the shadows, the urge to break free of every falsehood he had woven around himself. I want to be part of this. I really do, Ethan. It came out so raw and desperate. Those words felt like both triumph and surrender. Ethan tilted his head. Then why don't you? Why stay hiding? The question hung heavy in the air, and Jack felt the ground beneath his feet shift. He was a man caught between two worlds, the comfort of anonymity and the desire for connection. Before he could respond, the little boy who had been saved ran over with a big grin, oblivious to the weighty conversation hanging between them. Did you hear? We're heroes. All of us. He beamed, charging forward with a bright enthusiasm that felt infectious. Ethan grinned down at the boy, and it struck Jack Ethan could be so much more. He was standing on the brink of understanding, ready to uncover deeper layers of life and human kindness. But was Jack brave enough to cross over into that light? As he watched his son energize the crowd with laughter and tales of heroism, Jack took a shaky breath. The moment was almost perfect, filled with hope, but fear and doubt still clouded his heart. He looked back at Ethan. But again the words faltered. Could he truly open himself to the truth? The final rays of sunlight faded into twilight, casting shadows over the park, and Jack felt that familiar pull towards the darkness creeping in. Would he let fear swallow him whole, or would he finally embrace the possibility of real connection? And then, as if to challenge him, Ethan turned his gaze back to Jack, eyes burning with questions left unasked. Jack knew the time had come for his decision. Would he step forward and finally claim the place that was meant to be his? Or would he remain a mere observer in the life he so desperately hoped to be part of? The weight of possibility hung between them, electric and unresolved. Jack's heart raced as he contemplated the truth that loomed just ahead. What choice would he make as the night began to close in? Jack felt the cool evening air wrap around him, a stark contrast to the warmth of the moment he was watching unfold. The laughter around him became muffled, a distant echo of a world that felt both inviting and exclusionary. He saw Ethan's face so alive, so full of possibilities. It pulled at Jack's heartstrings like a well-tuned instrument. Here was a boy bursting with hope, and Jack felt like a faded photograph, one that was losing color and definition, struggling to find a way back into the light. The laughter from the boy, mixed with Ethan's smile, ignited embers of longing in Jack's chest. Every glance, every excited shout from the little hero reminded Jack of what he missed out on. He had chosen to hide himself for so long, creating shadows instead of embracing the warmth. Jack's voice came out softer this time, almost like he was testing the waters. It felt so fragile. I've been afraid. The admission tasted bitter on his tongue, but liberating as it slipped into the air. Afraid of what you'd think if you knew who I really am. Ethan's brow furrowed deeper, the concern growing as he stepped closer. What do you mean? You're my dad. That's all I care about. The sincerity in his words hit Jack like a tidal wave. Jack felt his heart twist painfully, but also burst with a quiet joy. Could it really be that simple? Being your dad isn't enough when I've been pretending to be someone I'm not. I've been hiding behind this mask. Jack's breath hitched as he glanced at the smiles of people around him, the genuine connections that coursed like vibrant currents beneath their laughter. I don't want to give you a false version of who I am. Jack's gaze locked with Ethan's. For the first time in a long while, clarity pierced through the fear. The truth was chaotic and messy, but it was real. Could that be enough? Jack felt each beat of his heart hammering behind his ribcage, urging him forward. Why can't I share my true self with you? What if? But before he could express that pivotal what if, the little boy who inspired the interaction earlier fluttered back into view, breathless from excitement. We should have more heroes like you, mister. We can do a whole parade. A parade for the bravest people, he exclaimed, bouncing on his toes. Jack caught Ethan's eyes again. There was something profound in that moment. The boy's enthusiasm reflected how much he craved heroes, not just in capes or costumes, but in everyday life. It created an aching need within Jack to step up and walk into the light. Ethan grinned broadly. See? You're one of them. You just have to let yourself be. The simplicity of that statement slammed into him with furious force. Jack inhaled deeply, emboldened by the hope shining in Ethan's eyes. He wanted to be the man his son believed in, the brave one, the hero. I need to talk to you, Ethan. Not just about that day, but about everything. His heart thrummed wildly as he prepared to strip away the layers of uncertainty. Like a secret? Ethan leaned closer with a conspiratorial grin. Jack nodded, feeling the words bubble up within him. The moment was ripe for truth. Everything Jack had held back threatened to spill over, but before he could forge ahead, a low thrum of laughter broke through the park as nearby children began a playful game. A game that felt so vibrant, so alive. Suddenly, Jack felt an unexpected flutter of joy amidst his turmoil. There was life all around him, in every laugh, every shout. Maybe we can still join them, he mused aloud, smiling at the idea of stepping into the fun, if only for a moment. But as the thought lingered, he felt a new weight settle on his shoulders. Could he truly trust what he felt? Would sharing his truth deepen their bond, or fracture it forever? Standing on the edge of revelation, the night unfurled its arms, enticing him with possibilities. The world around him shimmered with hope. Yet Jack remained tethered to the fear of the unknown. What would happen next? He caught Ethan's eye again, the hope in his gaze anchoring him, guiding him forward. Would he choose authenticity over fear? Or would he retreat once more, trapped by shadows? The decision loomed, almost palpable, a crossroads where Jack could either step into life or slip back into darkness. And just as Jack opened his mouth to speak, the sound of distant laughter echoed on the breeze, reminding him that the moment was now an invitation, a challenge. What would he do next as the night wrapped around them like a promise? Jack stood at the crossroads of his own heart, teetering on the edge of vulnerability. The laughter from the children nearby surged like waves, each peal poking at the cocoon of silence that had grown around him. He felt Ethan's eyes on him, unwavering, filled with faith and expectation. The warmth of his son's belief wrapped around Jack like an embrace, urging him to take that monumental step. I want you to know me, Ethan, Jack finally said, his voice trembling with the weight of the words. I want to tell you about my story, my choices, how I got here. And I need you to understand that, no matter who I am, I love you. Ethan's expression shifted from curiosity to concern, and Jack's heart ached at the thought of disappointing him. But this was no longer about shielding his son. It was about building a bridge of understanding. I grew up in a world where expectations suffocated me, Jack continued, gathering strength with every breath. I learned to wear a mask, to pretend I was someone I wasn't. And when I became a father, I thought hiding my true self was the best way to protect you. The crowd thrumming with joy couldn't drown out the thump of Jack's heart. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was risking everything. But it took my mistakes, my fears, to realize that the best gift I can give you is honesty. He stepped closer to Ethan, who was absorbing every word like a sponge. That Ethan's brow furrowed as he processed this information. But Dad, you're still my dad. None of that changes that, right? Jack nodded slowly, feeling the knot in his chest begin to unravel. That's what I'm hoping for. I've spent too long living in shadows. I've watched my fear hold me back from being the dad you deserve. I want to be there for you. To share my truth so we can build something real together. A small smile tugged at Ethan's lips. Are you saying you want to be a hero? Because you're already my hero. Jack chuckled, the sound mingling with the distant laughter that now felt less like a threat and more like encouragement. Maybe, just maybe, honesty could unravel the chains wrapped tightly around him. Let us go play, Ethan exclaimed, his excitement bursting through like sun rays on a cloudy morning. He reached for Jack's hand, practically vibrating with energy. And without thinking, Jack let himself be pulled away from the edge of his insecurities. They ran toward the other children, who were caught up in a spirited game of tag, the air crackling with joy. For the first time, Jack felt lighter. Each step felt freer, as if he were shedding the weight of his past with every stride. The laughter surrounded him again, this time lifting him instead of pulling him down. Ethan darted ahead, and in that moment, Jack watched him, his son radiating pure joy, as if the world had paused just for them. He squeezed Ethan's hand a little tighter, beaming at the sight. Maybe being a hero isn't about wearing a cape, Jack thought. The realization washing over him like a tide of clarity. Maybe it's just about being real. As the kids continued their game, Jack found himself caught up in the merriment. Laughter bubbled up inside him, unearthing hope he thought he had lost. But beneath the exhilaration, a flicker of anxiety lingered. Just when joy seemed to permeate everything, a shadow flitted across his thoughts. What if being honest opened a door to rejection? Could he really face the scrutiny that came with sharing his true self? Suddenly, the joyous faces of the children morphed into expectant eyes, and Jack's heart raced again. The evening air felt heavy with truth, and maybe that truth would shift everything not just for him, but for Ethan as well. Just as Jack felt he had fully embraced his decision, a loud cry shot through the park. "Look out!" Jack's heart dropped. He turned just in time to see a child stumble backward, nearly colliding with the edge of a fountain. The panic surged through him as he instinctively lunged forward, his instincts kicking in. Would Jack step up to save a stranger's child and face yet another critical moment of truth? Jack's body moved before his mind could fully catch up. He lunged forward, heart racing, muscles tensing as every instinct screamed for him to act. The world narrowed to that moment, a child unsteady and oblivious to the danger. The fountain like a shimmering trap behind him. "Ethan!" His voice broke through the chaos that had locked onto his thoughts. Jack's son turned, eyes wide, sensing the urgency. But Jack was too focused to think about anything but reaching out, his own fears eclipsed by the necessity to protect. Just as the other child's foot slid backward, Jack's hand grasped the arm of the stumbling boy, yanking him back from the fountain's edge. The child whirled around, surprise filling his wide eyes, then slowly turned to Jack, who breathed a sigh of relief despite the adrenaline surging in his veins. "Are you okay?" Jack asked gently, crouching to meet the little boy's gaze. The child nodded, tears glistening but fear quickly fading. Around them, parents and children paused, some staring in shock while others rushed over, concern etched on their faces. Ethan bounded up beside Jack, his expression switching from excitement to concern, as he quietly assessed the scene. "Dad, that was really brave." Jack straightened, the boy still in his grip, his heart pounding not just from fear but from an exhilaration he hadn't expected to feel. In that moment he understood the truth behind Ethan's earlier words. He felt the weight of his own vulnerability shift. Where once there had been questions of rejection, there was now something grounding in affirmation of his capacity to step up. As the crowd began to disperse, some parents fawning over their children, and others sharing murmurs of admiration for Jack's quick reaction, he felt a wave of warmth wash over him. He had done something real, something meaningful. "Let us get back to playing, okay?" Jack said to the boy, who now seemed more composed. With a slight smile he nodded and turned to rejoin his friends. As the crowd's focus shifted away, Jack's pulse began to settle, but the flicker of anxiety returned. He glanced down at Ethan. "You all right?" Jack asked, searching his son's eyes for any hint of fear or confusion. "Yeah, of course," Ethan replied, bouncing on his heels, the previous excitement rekindled with sparkles in his gaze. "You saved him, Dad. That was so cool." Jack felt a swell of pride, but it was mixed with uncertainty. "It was just a fast reaction, buddy. Anyone could have done it." Ethan shook his head fiercely. "No, Dad. Not everyone would have cared enough to help. And they wouldn't have done it so fast." Jack smiled, but the warmth of the moment was tinged with worry. How could he explain the depth of his struggle to Ethan, knowing his son already looked up to him? In protecting him, had he been hiding more than just his truth? The evening dusk settled around them, and the laughter continued, but Jack felt a different kind of weight pressing on his chest. Did he really have the courage to be honest not just with himself, but with Ethan, in light of all that had just happened? As the kids resumed their game, Jack took a deep breath and felt the pulses of joy mingle with thoughts of what lay ahead. He had stepped forward once, but could he do it again? The voices of the children faded into a background hum, and one question lingered clearer than ever. What vulnerable truth did he still need to share with Ethan in this life-changing moment? Jack watched Ethan as he spun around, laughter spilling from his lips, the vibrant energy of the playground enveloping them both. The chaotic moments from earlier faded into the background, but Jack's heart still thudded in his chest. He had saved a child today. Yet, instead of basking in that triumph, a deeper anxiety threatened to swallow him whole. He placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder, halting his son mid-laugh. "Hey, but can we chat for a second?" Ethan's playful grin faded slightly, replaced by curiosity. "Sure, Dad." They moved a few steps off to the side, where the sounds of joyous chaos blended into a soft hum. Jack knelt down so he could look directly into Ethan's eyes, those wide, innocent orbs that sparkled with unfiltered admiration. "You know how you said I was brave today?" He paused, searching for the right words as he felt the glow of pride mix with something heavier. "It's just, sometimes it's hard for me to be brave. Even when I want to be." Ethan furrowed his brow. "But you saved that boy. You were really brave. You jumped in and helped him." Jack took a deep breath, feeling the weight of expectations pressing down on him. "Yeah, but bravery isn't just about big moments like that. Sometimes, it's about sharing who you really are. Like there are things in my life that I don't talk about. Things I'm scared to admit." "What kind of things?" Ethan asked, his voice small now, the shift in his energy palpable. Jack could see the fascination in his son's eyes, but there was also an innocence cloaked in uncertainty. This was at the moment he could teach Ethan about vulnerability. "Things that make me feel small. Things that make me worried about not being a good enough dad." Ethan said nothing for a moment, just staring at Jack, processing everything. "But you are a good dad. You saved that kid. You take care of me." "There's more to it than that, pal," Jack said softly. "I want you to know that it's okay to feel scared or uncertain. It doesn't make you weak. I think it actually makes you stronger when you can share that." Ethan blinked, his young mind racing. "So you're saying it's okay to be scared?" "Exactly. It's just like you every day at school. You might feel nervous about a test or making new friends. That courage to keep trying, even when it's hard, is what matters," Jack emphasized. Ethan nodded slowly, a serious look crossing his face. "I get it, Dad. So, what are you scared of?" The question hung in the air, heavy with implications. Jack felt the urge to dodge it, to maintain the facade of the brave dad. But he realized he didn't want to do that anymore. He owed it to himself to be honest, to be real. "I'm scared of not being perfect. Of not being someone you can look up to. Just like you said earlier. I want to be someone who helps others, but I'm still figuring it all out." Ethan's expression softened, the concern replacing the innocence. "You're not perfect, but you're my dad. And that's enough." Jack chuckled, though the laughter was tinged with vulnerability. "Thanks, buddy. I just hope I can show you that it's okay to mess up sometimes." As they walked back toward the crowded playground, Jack felt a strange lightness. Sharing that truth had been difficult, but the connection between them seemed stronger now. Yet, even as hope flickered within him, a nagging thought remained: would this newfound honesty change the way Ethan viewed him? The bond felt deepening, but also precarious, like the edge of that fountain earlier. As children's laughter rang out, Jack glanced at Ethan, who seemed completely unfazed, his smile bright and unclouded. The joy was infectious, yet Jack couldn't shake the thought. What would happen if Ethan learned the realities of imperfect adults and worse, the harsh truths about his father's past? Would the boy still see him as a hero then? As the vibrant hum of the playground pulsed around them, Jack felt a strange medley of emotions, a flicker of hope tangled with fear. He watched Ethan rejoin his friends, his laughter bursting forth like fireworks. Jack couldn't help but think back to the struggles of his own childhood, shadows lurking behind memories of joy. Would Ethan ever face those same shadows? He leaned against a nearby tree, its bark rough against his back, grounding him momentarily. The sun glimmered through the leaves, each speck of light reminding him of the childhood games he had so eagerly played. Would those moments of innocence lift Ethan above the same struggles? He spotted Ethan competing with his friends, racing towards the swings, his small legs moving ferociously. Jack's heart swelled with pride and a nagging fear that mixed like oil and water. He wanted his son to be unburdened, but whispers of his past crept through his mind, each one more insistent than the last. Suddenly, a voice jolted him from his thoughts. "Jack, you okay?" It was Sarah, a familiar face from the neighborhood, her eyes searching his. Yeah, just thinking, he replied, forcing a smile to mask his inner turmoil. You've been a bit quiet. Anything on your mind? She pressed gently. He hesitated, considering sharing his feelings, but feared the burden that could place on her. Instead, he shrugged, just watching Ethan being a kid. You know how it is. Sarah nodded, a knowing smile on her face. Yes, lucky to have you. Jack tried to mirror her positivity, but found it a challenge. As Sarah walked away, he returned his gaze to Ethan, who was now in a heated argument over who had the highest swing. The sight tugged at something deep within him. He remembered whispers. Whispers that he wasn't enough, that he would never be enough. Each insistent message replayed like a broken record, threatening to resurface at the most unexpected moments. Dad. Dad. Ethan's voice cut through the din, pulling Jack from his reverie. Look, I'm the best swinger here. His beaming face, contagious and bright, pushed out the dark clouds in Jack's mind. Can you push me higher? Jack chuckled as he moved toward the swings. As he pushed Ethan, he felt a glimmer of warmth, a reminder of the bond they shared. You're sure you want to go higher? Last time you just about flew right off. They both laughed, the sound rich and full. I like flying. Ethan grinned. Just like you. Just like me, huh? Jack quipped, feeling that familiar swell of pride. But beneath that joy lay a knot of anxiety. Did he truly want his son to mimic the way he had faced the world, scarred and hiding behind walls? Dad, can we go to the skate park later? Ethan asked, his eyes sparkling with eagerness. Jack hesitated, memories of his own bruises flashing before him. Maybe we can stick to the swings first? But Dad, I want to ride like you. Ethan insisted, and Jack felt his heart twist. How could he share his past while wanting different for his son? As they moved on to the playground's next adventure, Jack's heartbeat raced. So many thoughts swirled within. What if he told Ethan the truth about his past? About how it had shaped him, scarred him? Would Ethan view him less favorably? Or would it deepen their bond, a reminder that even in the shadows, love could thrive? As the sun dipped lower on the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Jack felt the weight of his thoughts like a storm forming. What would he choose to reveal? Just then Ethan squealed, Dad. Watch me. He leaped off the swing, soaring through the air, a snapshot of joy frozen in time. And for a heartbeat, Jack wondered. Should he let go of his fears and truly share his story with Ethan? What would that mean for their relationship? The evening stretched on, vibrant and alive, woven with laughter and the brief pauses of life's hiccups. Jack stood at the edge of the playground, watching as Ethan reveled in the simple joys of childhood. Every bounce, every squeal, sparked a deeper yearning within Jack to forge a genuine connection. Dad, did you see that? Ethan called out after landing a clumsy yet triumphant jump from the swing. Jack beamed at him, heart brimming with a mix of pride and longing. I did. You're a superstar. The kinetic energy of the night pushed Jack closer to his truth. It felt like each burst of laughter from Ethan opened doors in his heart, doors he had kept tightly shut. Just moments ago, he had hesitated, afraid of the shadows lurking in his past, but now he felt that familiar urge rise up. The desperate need to bond, to share. Ethan, Jack said, his voice a little tighter than he expected. Can we talk? Ethan paused his frolicking and bounded over, his eyes bright with curiosity. Sure, Dad. What's up? Jack knelt on the grass, any notion of grandeur stripped away. I've been thinking about everything, I mean everything. He gestured vaguely, encompassing the playground, their life together, and all the spaces in between. There's something important I want to share with you. About my past. Ethan's brow furrowed, and Jack saw the confusion paired with concern in those young eyes. What do you mean? Is it bad? Jack drew a deep breath, feeling the weight of his admission swell in the air between them. It's a little bit of both. But I want you to understand me, to know why I've been this way. I want you to know that you can talk to me about anything, even the hard stuff. Okay, Ethan whispered, his voice steady. Jack felt the key turning in the lock within him. When I was your age, I felt a lot of pressure to succeed, just like you do sometimes. But I didn't always know how to deal with that fear. I hid behind a mask, pretending to be someone I wasn't, and I want to apologize for that. He felt a flicker of vulnerability that ignited a warmth within. I wanted to be a perfect dad, to show you an image of success, but I let my fears keep me from sharing my real self with you. Ethan listened intently, his face morphing from confusion to understanding. You're saying you were scared? Yeah, Jack replied, his heart pounding. I was scared of not being enough, and I thought if I wore a mask, I could protect you from my flaws. But the truth is I've learned that my flaws don't define me. What defines me is how we rise from them. Jack's voice wavered, vulnerability flooding the air between them. He wanted to embrace Ethan's awkwardness and armor, to show that it was okay to stumble. Ethan seemed to ponder something grand, his fingers curling around the chain link of the fence lining the playground. I think I get it, Dad. You're saying it's okay to mess up. Just like me and those swings. Jack laughed softly, the tension easing from his shoulders, the tenderness bridging their emotional gap. Exactly. You're learning to find your own way. And I want to be here right beside you. The golden hour painted the world in shades of forgiveness, and Jack saw Ethan's face light up with understanding that brought them both closer together than ever before. Thanks for telling me that, Dad, Ethan said, sincerity echoing in his tone. I think you're doing great. I want to be a hero like you. The buoyancy of that moment enveloped Jack, filling him with a sense of purpose. The shadows that had held him captive began to dissolve amidst the laughter and light they shared. As they walked back toward the playground buzz, Jack noticed something shifting in himself, a release, a weight lifted. He realized that bravery isn't just about moments of heroic feats. Sometimes, it's about having the courage to reveal vulnerability, to step away from shadows and embrace connection. Ethan dashed ahead, his laughter ringing through the evening air, and Jack followed, a smile stretching across his face. The joy poured into him like a rich sunrise. Yes, life continued to hold challenges, but there was a new strength between them, an unbreakable bond built on authenticity. Later, as they walked home under a blanket of stars, Jack marveled at the realization that love and courage could shine brightest not in perfection, but in the shared journey of truth. There were still whispers lurking at the back of his mind, but for now, he held the hand of the boy who made him whole. Their laughter echoed in harmony as they returned home, and Jack knew the journey wasn't just forward. It was about being better together. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this heartwarming ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful transformation. You need to support the channel. Don't wait not even one more second.